This is From the Archives, a series about interesting things that I found in primary source material. Having done the math of war, go check out that video to understand the numerical arguments for including women in the World War II military. We can see that it was necessary to enroll women. It seems obvious to us now, but it wasn't in 1942. There was a lot of concern about how women would integrate into combat units or the Army or Navy as a whole. There were a lot of congressional hearings about creating these new auxiliaries, but this moment deserves to be highlighted. It's from the April 15th, 1942 House Committee of Naval Affairs hearing on H.R. 6807 to establish a Women's Auxiliary Reserve in the Navy and for other purposes. This is in the Congressional record. The citation is below. The players: Vice Admiral Randall Jacobs, Committee Chairman Carl Vinson, Democrat from Georgia, and Representative Joseph B. Shannon, Democrat from Missouri. Other committee members included Representative William H. Sutphin, Democrat, New Jersey, Representative William P. Cole, Jr., Democrat, Maryland, Representative Edward V. M. Isaac, Democrat, California, Representative Melvin J. Maas, Republican, Minnesota, and Representative George J. Bates, Republican, Massachusetts. The initial conversation was about how women would be used and about how many men would therefore be released for sea duty. Now, in Jacobs' defense, he was very clear that he couldn't give them concrete numbers as they hadn't actually started. He could only work with one small example with a few volunteers. But he did outline the different jobs necessary for the success of the Navy, and that those jobs could just as easily be done by women. Jacobs opened his testimony with a prepared statement about what the Navy wished to accomplish with this new Women's Auxiliary Reserve. This branch will be administered under the same provisions in all respects as the Volunteer Reserve, except as may be necessary to adapt such provisions to the Women's Auxiliary Reserve. A survey of billets now filled by officers and enlisted personnel on shore indicates that many of the duties can be performed by women, thus permitting the assignment of men with the forces afloat. The duties contemplated include coding and decoding and other cryptanalysis work onshore in the Navy Department and in the naval districts within the continental limits of the United States, photographic interpretation, statistical work, and so forth, now being performed by junior officers and enlisted men in the various ratings. The release of naval personnel by women in such cases would serve to alleviate to a marked degree the existing and prospective shortage of seagoing officers and men. This shortage, while serious now, promises to become acute as the naval expansion program continues. It is considered vital that all possible steps be taken at the earliest practicable time to remedy this situation. The total number of officers and men who would be released for duty at sea as a result of the utilization of a Women's Auxiliary Reserve cannot be accurately predicted at this time. It is believed, however, that the use of such reserve in communication duties ashore alone would eventually result in the release of 1,000 officers for service with the fleet. Other committee members like Sutphin, Cole, and Bates were concerned with the kind of work that the women would do and the proper utilization of the men released for sea duty. That is, that those men would actually go to sea. Now for the highlight. In my notes, I call him Senator Creepy. It's actually Representative Joseph B. Shannon, Democrat from Missouri, and he is the one who's concerned about the safety of the women. Shannon's question to Jacobs: does pulchritude enter into this in any way? Western Union and the Postal Telegraph Services are contributing to the delinquency of children by sending little girls around in office buildings. That contributes to the delinquency of those children. Is this a movement to get beautiful girls, or do you require some age limit? Now, it's possible he was being creepy himself, but it's more likely that he knew the men would be creepy to the women. Sadly, the easiest way for me to remember Representative Shannon is by identifying him with two things that he wasn't: a senator and a creep. I find it interesting that he's one of the few people who is concerned about the women being objectified, and he's concerned that the Navy wants them because they're decorative, not because they're useful. This is where his objection to the minimum age being 17 comes from. When Jacobs indicates that the Navy wants to enroll women in the same age range as men, including as young as 17 years old, Representative Shannon objects pretty strenuously. Mr. Shannon, do you not think that is wrong, Admiral? Admiral Jacobs, it has to be by the consent of the parents. We do not take in anybody under 21 without the consent of the parents. Mr. Shannon, yes, I understand. But even parents are sometimes foolish about those things. Senator Creepy. Representative Joseph Shannon. Sir, I salute you. For that last line, anyway.